Hey y'all, welcome back or welcome if you're new. I'm Danny and this is Homemaking Ain't Easy. So last week we went and we picked up our bulk meat for 2023 and I actually recorded it for you all because I just wanted to show you what half of a cow and half of a pig looked like as far as cuts were concerned, how many of each item that we got, and how much it filled up our chest freezer, just so that if you guys are thinking about buying bulk meat, or if that's something that you're interested in, you can kind of have an idea what to expect. So I have some notes here. I'm going to go over with you all the parts of the process that we take, and how you possibly could start doing this if it's something that you're interested in. So stay tuned. Okay, so before I go into how to stock up and all that good stuff, I'm going to explain to you why we stock up. So when we first started stocking up, it was 2020, and y'all know what was going on when that happened. We felt very unsure about so many things, but the one thing that we knew that we had to do was make sure our family was fed. So we were trying to be smart with our money, so we bought bulk beef and pork that year, and we have done it every year for the past 3 years. We stock up, number one, because it protects us from potential inflation. So while buying the meat has went up slightly, understandably so, because everything has went up slightly, or a lot, either or. But we know that once we pay that price, we get all of our meat. So it doesn't change the price of our meat throughout the year. So whereas, if the price of pork goes up, or if the price of beef goes up throughout this next year, we know for a fact that our meat still stay the same, and we're able to shop from our freezer and not worry about the price fluctuating. Number two, we stock up because it makes all the meat less expensive, like total. So for example, when you buy your half a cow, if you take the price of all the steaks you get and all the different cuts of meat you get, and you compare it to what you would normally get in a grocery store, it's quite a bit less expensive than what you would pay in the grocery store. And that to us has always been nice to know that we are paying less money because we are buying it in bulk, and because it doesn't matter what the cut is, it kind of all balances out the price of what all you're getting. Number three, we stock up because we're able to use more of the animal and reap the rewards ourselves. So when we stock up, we ask to keep the beef bones from our half of a cow. And what we do is we take those bones, and I have a huge roasting pot that I bought last year, and we take those bones and we fill them with vegetable cuttings that I have collected year round. Every night when I cut vegetables, if I cut an onion, I save the ends. Whatever I peel off goes into a freezer bag and goes directly into the freezer. Vegetables, if I'm chopping carrots and different stuff like that, the trimmings of those either go to our chickens or go into the freezer in the bag with the onions. And I save up knowing that I'm going to make a big batch of beef broth when we get our beef bones, or I'm going to make a big batch of chicken broth when we get our chicken bones. So I take those bones. Usually we're able to divide them into 2 stock pots. We probably, after thinking about it, the beef bone broth that we made last year really was strong. I think we could probably split it into maybe 4 batches instead of 2, because it was pretty full with the bones that we had. But we're able to make beef broth, and not only are we saving money on the cuts of meat and all that good stuff, we're also using up every piece of that animal that we're able to. And I mean, obviously the butchers who do the other stuff take care of the other parts and sell those and stuff like that, but we can take those bones and turn them into broth, and that broth will last our family for quite some time. And that means I don't have to go to the store and buy beef broth when I'm making a soup or when I'm making a roast or whatever I'm using beef broth before, I don't have to go buy it because we have it on the shelves downstairs. And I know what's in that beef broth because I made it myself. So that is nice knowing that we can use more of the animal than we would if we just buy it from the store, and that it's going back into our family. So it's kind of like a double investment because we're investing in the meat, but we're also investing in what is going to be our beef broth for the year, maybe 2 years. We stock up because we're able to use local meat, and we know that that meat has had a good, healthy life. You know, when I go to pick up this meat, I'm looking at the animals that are going to be on somebody's plate later, yes, but I see them grazing, I see them happy, they're well taken care of. The owner of the place that does this meat is very loving to them and gives them the best life possible before they go to feed our family and to support our family. And I feel better about investing in a local animal that has lived a good life versus an animal that has been in who knows what conditions and those big plants that just pile the animals on top of each other and they don't have a good life. So like I feel a lot better when I know that I'm getting local meat that was taken well care of. Let's get into the part of how. That was the why. Let's talk about how. So the first thing that you can do is you can seek out your farmer's market, your local farmer's market, wherever that is. Most of the time, because now farmer's markets are getting better because more people are seeking them out, because more people are starting to care about what goes into their body. And so go to your local farmer's market. Most of the time, you will see more than one meat provider at that farmer's market. We live in a fairly small town, and I will say that usually when I go to, we're kind of in between two towns, so I know if I go to this place or if I go to this place, there's at least 2 meat distributors available there. And that kind of allows you to be able to, price check and all that stuff. I found out about our specific meat provider through a food truck that I used to work for. That's where he got his meat. And so I knew of him. And so when we decided to buy bulk meat, I sought him out, started buying bulk meat from him. I would also make sure that you're comparing prices. So while, yes, there are multiple meat distributors you can find, you do want to check prices because sometimes, you might price compare and it might be a very huge difference. And while obviously you're already investing quite a bit of money in this, you want to make sure that you're investing the right amount of money. You don't want to overpay. You also, want to make sure that you're going with a good company. So for example, here, the company that we go through is a little different than some other companies. Other companies, sometimes you buy the cow, you pay the processing fee, and then, you get on a waiting list and all that stuff. And then you get literally the specific cow that you bought, however much they weigh, you get cuts like that. Ours is kind of like that, but they kind of go off of a average price. It's a little bit of a bigger company. This company has grown quite a bit. So when we order, they are regularly prepping fresh animals, but also they have the cuts that we request. They go off of an average weight on those. So it's not, ours is a little different than say maybe your farmer might be when you go to buy from your farmer. Not all prices are the same. And it also depends on what cut of meat you're getting. Angus or Wagyu beef tends to be a lot more expensive than just, a good old Bessie, So all those things do go into how much the price is, but make sure you're comparing prices so that you're not being taken advantage of, but still know it is an investment. It is for sure an investment. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to look up reviews for the farmer that you're buying from. You want to make sure that the people who are buying from this person enjoy the meat that they are getting. That's with anything, isn't it? You might when you go to a restaurant, you're going to look at the reviews. When you go to a hotel, you're going to look at the reviews. You want to look up. And when I look at reviews, I don't just look at the couple disgruntled people who maybe, had a bad day when they had an experience with this meat provider or whatever. You want to look at the many reviews. You want to look at all aspects. So I read more than just a couple reviews when I'm reviewing meat providers or whatever the case may be. Because, we're in an age where everybody has an opinion about everybody, and, it's not always an accurate depiction of who that person is or who that company is. So, you've got to just really investigate the reviews, but make sure that if they have a ton of bad reviews, that's likely, even if it's a really cheap price or a cheaper price than you were expecting, don't go with that company. If people are telling you over and over and over and over again that company is not the company you want to go with, don't go with them. Take their advice. And then plan. So if you're just getting interested in this, in bulking up your freezer or stocking up your freezer, you may not be able, if you have that money lying around, you might be able to. For us, we prep ahead of time. So I've told you guys before that we kind of used to do Dave Ramsey-ish. Now we do kind of like a version. So it's not really Dave Ramsey, but Dave Ramsey will tell you to make sure they take out enough taxes every paycheck so that you don't have any at the end of the year, so that you don't get, a tax refund, because basically you're giving a loan to the United States of America. Why not go ahead and get all your money at one time and have a bigger budget at that time than get the money at the end of the year? Now, we enjoy getting a tax refund. We consider it kind of like a savings plan. So what we do every year is we plan for large projects and bulk meat with our tax money. Those are the big upfront expenses, and we know we're gonna have them, and so we spend the money then. So every year around March or April, we know we're gonna buy a half a cow and a half a pig with our tax money, and that's just kind of how we budget that. With me not working and my husband working, and it's just the best way that we know we can save for that. But that is definitely something you have to think about. Is it, you try to say, okay, we spend, $800 a month on groceries. Let me see where I can cut corners here or there and put some money back for bulk meat buying, and that price is going to differ. I'll give you the total price that we paid for all of our stuff at the end of this video. But it's just important to make sure that you're planning for this purchase, because it is something that you have to plan for. Unless you just have that money lying around, then you go buy it. It's totally fine. I feel like if you have the money, go use it. But we specifically have to plan and have to save for it. So I'm about to go over with you the cuts. When we go online to our meat distributor, we go under order bulk beef or pork. And then when you go under there, you will choose the size. So I chose half of a cow, and they have, it looks like 13 different options of what different cuts that you can have. So, under option 1, they have T-bone and porterhouse steaks, filet, and New York strips, fajita, stew, or grind. So most of the time when you order meat, they will give you a cut sheet for what you can choose. We have an option for ribeye steaks, rib roast, fajita, stew, or ground. Sirloin steak, sirloin roast, fajita, stew, or grind. There's an option for flank steak, fajita, or grind. There's an option for skirt steak, fajita, or grind. And there's one for brisket or grind. And there's one for eye of round, stew, cube steak, or grind. There's one for chuck roast, stew, or grind. Chuck eye steak, fajita, or grind. Sirloin tip, roast, stew, or grind. And then there's a London broil, cube steak, stew, or grind. And then at the bottom, option 13 says more stew, more cube, or more grind. So what we learned the first year that we ordered this meat was our family does not do a lot of roast. Like, we had so many roasts that year, and we will eat roast for one day and love it, and we just don't eat the leftovers. I've never really been a roast person. Like, I think I remember from a young age not being a super huge fan of like that roast meat because, you know, there's only certain things I can take in the crock pot, like soups and stuff. I have noticed that I feel like it's hard to not dry out meat in the crock pot. It really is, unless it has a lot of liquids with it and stuff. So I just am not a fan of roast. So we get all of the really good steaks. Like, so we get the filet and New York strips, we do the ribeyes, we do the sirloin, we do the flank, the skirt, the brisket, because that's going to be like 4th of July celebration this year. And then when it comes to like eye of round, chuck roast, chuck eye, sirloin tip, London broil, we do all grind because we just won't eat it and we don't want to waste it. So, and we use ground beef regularly. We were close to running out of ground beef last year. And so I was like, yeah, let's, you know, we just continue on with lots of ground meat. We love the steaks, and, you know, we did the brisket this year. I think this is the first year we've actually done the brisket. So those are the option when it comes to the cut sheets on beef. Now, we do also buy half a hog is what it's called on here. And they have 6 different options for that. So you can get a Boston butt, pork steaks, or grind. They've got boneless pork chops, bone-in pork chops, whole boneless pork loin and grind. They have ribs or grind, roast steaks or grind, cured and sliced bacon, yes, uncured whole or grind, and that's with the pork belly section. And then it asks for ground pork. They ask if you want unseasoned, mild, hot, maple, or half mild, half hot. And so what I did was we did pork steaks, the boneless pork chops, and we did the ribs and the bacon, and then we did ground. So basically I asked them for half mild sausage for things like sausage balls, or when I do breakfast for dinner, we can have like sausage gravy and all that good stuff. And then I asked for half unseasoned because in the summer or even in the winter, I like to mix some pork with our beef. And with hamburgers, that makes the burgers super moist and tasty. They're so good that way. And then with the meatloaf, it also makes your meatloaf super moist and tasty. And I just love that. It's like, it's hard to dry out the meat like that. And I just really think that it brings a really good flavor profile to the hamburger or to the meatloaf. So I choose to do some ground pork, and also ground pork. I don't know if you've ever looked for it. I have a couple recipes that require ground pork. But it's not super easy to find in the store. It's hard to not find seasoned ground pork, which is sausage, essentially. So we like to get both the seasoned sausage and just the ground pork. So those are the cuts for that. And I'm assuming we've only ever dealt with this company. My best friend, she goes with the person who they, you know, the same time every fall, it's time to buy a cow. They, you know, the cow gets slaughtered, they pay the processing fee, and they fill up their freezer. So theirs is a little different. It might be different where you're at, but I'm just telling you from my experience, and I'm sure that if our meat guy does it this way, then there's somebody else's meat guy does it this way. But our meat guy also has a store where you can go and buy fresh meats from him as well. So that might be the difference. I'm not sure, but let me go show you all we got when we went to pick up our bulk meat order. Let's go. I just got back from picking up our bulk meat order for 2023, and we ordered half of a cow and half of a pig. So I wanted to show you everything from beginning to end. and I wanted to show you how much space it took in my mid-size SUV to bring it from where we picked it up at to home. You know, they had a delivery option, but it was a $50 difference, and we were already spending quite a bit on the beef and the pork, so I just went ahead and picked it up myself. The boxes are divided pretty well, so it's not going to be too heavy at all. So let me show you what it looks like in the back. So as you can see, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 boxes. We would have beef bones right now. However, the machine that they use, they actually butcher their own beef as well. A lot of places will grow the cows and send them off to the butcher, whereas this place also has their own processing facility. So the machine that cuts the bones up for use, or like to send home with people, is broken. So she's got my name, she's got my number, and she's going to let me know as soon as it's up and I can pick up the beef bones. We actually make our own homemade beef broth with it, along with some vegetable savings, onions, garlic, all the good stuff. You will see that in a future video, but this is what it looks like. Let's get it inside. I've got it all laid out on this table. Understand that we are going to tally this at the end, and every meat processor does this a little differently. So like some places you buy the cow ahead of time, you pay for the processing, and you get specifically from that cow. This is kind of like that, but as they expand, it's like they give you the weight and the cuts and the meat. Like they know how much should come from a half a cow, half a pig, all that stuff. And so we got these cuts. I'm not promising that this is exactly what you're going to get. I will go over the cut sheet and all of that, but this is what we got from our half a cow purchase here in East Tennessee. Okay, so back here is the row of ground beef stacked, and over here is a row of ground beef stacked. We opt out of a lot of rows, so we have a ton of ground beef. We do choose obviously steaks when they're an option, because they are one of our favorite meats as well. They're versatile, all that good stuff. So back there is ground beef, plus this is ground beef. My husband said he counted 81 packs total. And I will give you a final tally just to make sure we didn't get it wrong. This row right here is all sirloin steak. You can see these beautiful cuts, the beautiful marbling, not as much fat. And some of these are stacked 3 and 4 high. Again, I will give you a final tally when we're done putting this meat up and filming this section, because I've got to film the pork directly after. Here are our ribeyes. Now these are stacked about 4 high. This whole row is ribeyes, and I got a couple of 5 stacks right here. So all this row is ribeye. Right here, we have our New York strip steaks. This entire row is New York strip. They look beautiful, tender, thick, nice, have a little bit of fat on the outside, but they're gorgeous. And then right here, we have our filet tenderloin situation. So some of these are smaller. I'm surprised that we have these. I'm guessing they're like packs of 3 to 4 tenderloins in here, and they look so good. And then my husband was so excited when he saw that I chose brisket as one of the meat cuts. We have our Traeger out back. It's something that we love to cook on, especially when we're having a ton of people around. So that brisket is going to get some TLC on our Traeger this summer, lots of rubs and all that. I might be able to have him film that with me as he shows you the process of rubbing it down, what seasonings, you know, cooking and all that. So we will see if I can talk him into that. Brisket, filet tenderloin, New York strip, ribeye, sirloin, and then ground beef. Let's get this counted and put up. Future Danny popping in to tell you I lost the footage of me going over the cuts and the amounts of each cut that we got. So here goes. We got 81 packs of ground beef. Those weren't exactly a pound a piece. It went from like a pound to almost 2 pounds, some of them. We got 1 brisket. We got 7 packs of filet slash tenderloin. We got 10 packs of New York strips. We got 13 packs of ribeye, and we got 11 packs of sirloin. Last, but certainly not least, we have our half a pork. Some of these are 3 high, some of them are not. I told you guys I would give you a final count. We just really wanted to lay you out so you could see the amount. And also at the end, we will give you the price of everything. But these are both rows of boneless pork chops. Our family, if we don't want leftovers, we'll use just 1 pack at a time. If we want leftovers, we'll use 2, but I feel like they're a pretty decent size and they don't cook down too much. So these are all boneless pork chops. These are all ham steaks. We had asked for pork shoulder steaks, but actually this is kind of better. My husband loves ham. I can make some recipes with this, like some soup beans and different stuff like that, and we can smoke them however we want. So these are our ham steaks. We got some baby back ribs. Over here is our bacon, which is so good. Once you have like homegrown bacon, you really can't go back. And then over here, there is some ground pork. I got some of it seasoned and I got some of it not seasoned. So this row and those few are all seasoned. And then this back here is just plain pork. But this is what half of a pig, where we bought it from, looks like. Let's get this counted and get it in the freezer. The final count on the packs of pork, we had 18 4-packs of the boneless chops. We had 5 2-packs of the ham steaks. We had 8 packs of bacon, 19 packs of sausage, and 9 pounds of just ground pork. So, one thing I wanted to discuss was these meat packages are not like what you buy in a grocery store. So, for example, when I go to the grocery store to buy a pack of sausage, it's 1 pound exactly. Those pounds of sausages ranged from maybe 0.9 pounds of sausage all the way up to 1.5. Same with the bacon. The bacon wasn't exactly 16 ounces. Some of them were closer to, or they weren't all 16 ounces. Some of them were like 1 pound to almost 2 pounds of bacon. Okay, y'all, this is our freezer. It is a 14.8 cubic foot food freezer from GE. We had, I would say, 30 pounds of meat left from last year's half a cow and half a pig. And this is half a cow, half a pig, plus about 30 pounds. So this is what it looks like. Is the organization perfect? No, but I have these bags I can pick up and move as I need to get to what meat. I know what is where. The steaks are on the bottom, perfectly organized in these little containers. These bags are all a specific meat or type of meat, so I can pick them up and move them. All the ground beef is over here because I need it easily accessible because we use it the most. But I'm trying to make a variety this year, especially now that I'm making my own recipes. This is my goal. So this is all our meat. It will last us for about a year, maybe a little bit longer. I went and did some math. We paid $1,627.30 for half of a cow and half of a pig. I did the breakdown just by what they say you get, and it's accurate. You get 200 pounds of beef from half of a beef, and you get 100 pounds of meat from half of a pork. When you do the actual math on 300 pounds of meat, I did not separate cuts, but when you do the math on 300 pounds of meat and the amount that we spent, it's around $5.42 per pound of meat. Now that means $5.42 for the steaks, for the filet mignon, for the New York strips, for the ribeyes, for the sirloin, for the bacon, which that alone is like $6 to $7 per pound. Also, that's not to mention like you're getting locally grown, grass-fed pork and beef. And so to me, it's so much better. The quality is better, the worth is better, the value is better, and it takes a lot from our grocery budget every week. That's just my 2 cents. The amounts that we spent, you just saw the cuts that we got, the amount that we got, how much space it took up in our freezer. I hope that this video was helpful. I know when we first started to buy bulk meat, I think we were watching venison for dinner because that was like one of the only videos that stood out to me, at least. And so it was very nice to see like how much it was and what it looked like and how much space it would take. So it's nice to know that. And I hope this helps you. We're no experts at any of this or anything, period. This is just how we do it. It's like a safety from inflation. It's also just to know that our family is fed no matter what. I hope you enjoy these types of videos. If you do, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell. And until next time, homemaking ain't easy. Let's be for real.